I can tell you exactly who's going to win this year's World Cup just by looking at the logo. We all know the Super Bowl conspiracy. Every year they give us the Super Bowl logo at the beginning of the year, and the colors from that logo happen to be the colors of both teams that end up playing in the Super Bowl. We all know there's a script for the NFL. Well, FIFA has a script too, and it's right in front of our faces, and it's been very obvious this whole time. However, the World Cup logo itself is always black and white. But what you might not know is that every World Cup has official colors. And those colors just happen to correlate with the winner every single year for at least the last 3 World Cups. In 2022, Argentina won. These are the official World Cup colors for 2022. That's Argentina's flag. Blue, yellow, and the outline of the sun is that exact dark maroon. Then in 2018, France won. You can't tell me that these colors don't match France. I mean, their jerseys are that exact dark and light blue. Their away kits are the white and cream. And then you have the red from their flag. In 2014, Germany won. And this one, I feel like people are gonna say this is a stretch. I don't think so. That is the exact yellow and red tone from the flag. And if you didn't know, Germany's away kits are green. This year's colors, green, blue, red, and then 2 shades of gray. My first thought, an underdog team, but Morocco. However, they are missing the blue. I think the more obvious option is Portugal. You might be thinking, well, Portugal is red and green, but they also don't have the blue. I challenge you to zoom in on their flag. Those dice looking things, which I'm not sure what they are not black. They are navy blue. So if you believe in conspiracy theories or just, I don't know, facts, Portugal is winning the World Cup, and FIFA leaked the script. They wrote the script. They wrote it in. Portugal's winning this year.
This is super crazy if it's real. Now, I'm not big on conspiracy theories. I'm also not really too big on football, but to actually see that there could be a script behind how they're making these decisions is absolutely crazy. And the reality is we're actually going to find out really soon if this is true, but is it going to just be a coincidence if we have 4 World Cup winners which all correlate with the colors? And the Super Bowl thing, maybe because I'm based in the UK, I was not even aware of the Super Bowl thing. That again is another crazy thing. And it even causes us to beg to ask the question, what's going on here? Is this truly entertainment or is it fabrication? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Because when I think about this stuff, it makes me start actually asking myself the question. I remember growing up, I used to watch wrestling, like WWE and that kind of stuff. And the interesting thing watching that kind of stuff is I genuinely, as a young person, thought it was real. I thought it was so real when Rocky Maivia or a Bret the Hitman Hart or a British Bulldog were actually going up against each other. I thought it was real. I thought the narratives were real until I got older and I started realizing, hold on a minute, this Stone Cold Steve Austin can't really be drinking these beers before he's going to war. And I started to actually rationalize that the purpose of the entertainment is actually to keep you busy. It's actually to keep you away from the things that will truly get you paid. And what's interesting is thinking about or even speaking about this idea of getting paid leads me to think about one of the things I realized as a young person is actually essential to understand what's really going on in any situation, circumstance, or scenario. And this was something I literally heard in a movie, the movie Heat. For those of you who are old school movie connoisseurs, the movie Heat with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, they literally said inside of that movie, follow the money, or I believe it was that movie anyway. And the reason I bring this up is because this is the key to start to uncover a lot of the quote unquote conspiracies that are in our current day and age, where people say, oh, it is a conspiracy or oh, it isn't a conspiracy. The reality is if you follow the money, you very quickly realize whether it is or is not a conspiracy at that. And as I say that, I think about the fact that if this World Cup is a script oriented, we already know who's going to win, there's a few situations that come up that actually become important. The first one is this part of the whole who's the greatest player in the world right now? Is it the Messi or is it the Ronaldo? Is this part of that play? Is this part of the way that they push forward one as they pull back another? All right. Is this the passing of the torch, as they say very often? Okay. So that's one thing in my mind in terms of this whole setup, if this is actually a fabricated process and if the script is actually being leaked. The second thing that actually comes to mind about this whole situation is, if you are going to follow the money, one of the key ways to follow the money is to determine the money's actual flow. And if you know who's going to win, then guess what? You can already position yourself, prepare yourself in order to be part of that win, or to set things up for that win. And that comes in many different shapes and sizes. Like I mentioned already, like I'm not really too big on football, but another thing I'm definitely not big on is gambling. But one of the things I understand is that gamblers make a lot of money through means of predictions of who's going to win, who's going to score, who's going to lose, and who's going to draw. And as I start thinking all of this through, it starts to make more sense, because if you're really going to follow the money through a process, if you're really going to follow the money through a system, what happens is it makes more sense to be the person who's actually funneling or deciding where the money's flowing to, because then it makes it easier for you to be able to follow the money and to ensure that you stay in control of what's going on. So this is actually causing me to think right now, is the way that FIFA and maybe a lot of other sports organizations, based on the fact she's also mentioned the NFL, is the way that FIFA and many of these sports organizations actually ensure that they can make this stuff profitable by determining how it's going to profit them and profit all. Because the reality is, another thing that just really strikes my mind about this is the simple fact that if they're picking the people to win, then they're determining everything. And what effect does that actually have on us now? I know back in the day, the focus was ticket sales. Everybody thought that revenue was being generated from ticket sales. But in certain sports, like UFC, the Ultimate Fighter Championship, in those kind of sports, what's happening now is a lot more people are publicizing on their Twitter and on their social media that they're gambling on these games. So if they're gambling on these games, if they're predicting winners on these games, and they're actually winning their bets on these games, the amount of money that's being funneled into this industry becomes close to unlimited, because they actually know what's going to happen before it actually happens. Now, if that is literally what's going on, if that's the picture of what's going on, the question is, what are the patterns that we can take from that? And there's a few patterns that I think we should arm ourselves with. The first pattern is, not everything is exactly as it seems. Even the things that we think are entertainment, maybe they're scripted. Maybe the whole reality TV isn't just in the reality TV shows. Maybe it's a bit broader than what we thought. That's the first pattern we could take away from this. The second pattern we could take away from this is definitely in your own business, in your own life, in your own wherewithal as it pertains to wealth. Are you positioning yourself to determine the flow of where the money goes? Because if it is a process of follow the money to find out what's happening, if you are funneling the money, if you're determining where it flows, then you've got a better opportunity to follow where it goes. So that's the second pattern that I want to take away from this and think will be valuable for all of us to think about and for us to use in our own personal lives. The last thing that really kind of comes to mind as I think about this whole process is, as mentioned previously, it used to be about ticket sales, but now there's other ways that these sports conglomerates are finding to monetize. Now, it might not be by fixing the games. It might not be by setting the script a specific way. It might not be by saying this is how, who and who's how going to win. It might not be all of that, but it might just be by looking at multiple streams in order to generate the revenue that you need. So I want to encourage you, wherever you are in your journey, wherever you are in your process, to maybe utilize those three things in your personal pathway as well. Have you thought for yourself in terms of your wealth creation, how you can ensure that you have multiple revenue sources flowing your way so you will know what you're going to be able to generate at the end of the day? And secondarily, are you in a position where you're not just focused on one particular way of doing things so you can make sure you can take advantage of the multiple other ways of doing things? And last but not least, listen, I want to know in the comments below, what's your thoughts on this, right? Because I'm actually, even based on this now, even eager to see what's going to happen in the next World Cup, to see if we get a prediction right on this one, which we're going to see very soon, and if we get a prediction on the next one accurate as well, just based on these colors. I don't know how this all goes, but at the end of the day, it's worth checking out and seeing if what the conspiracy she shared is really gonna come about. So with that being said, as I usually say, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe if you got some value out of this video, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Good day, God bless, and remember, small keys open up big doors. Let's go.
Small keys open big doors.